Hello to my friends out there. This is Matt Myth reaching out through the airwaves to you. Well, how you been? How's it going? What's up? What's new? Where you been? I recently just posted a live video of me doing the performance. Well, it wasn't much of a performance, it was more just a reading, simple reading of a poetry book that I just put out. But, a little more than just poetry. It's not random poems. There is a whole connected force behind it. I will be posting actual videos of each poem, each part. I don't know if I'm going to do it in sections or if I'm going to do it all together. I don't know yet. I was just in the mood to read some poetry, so I did it. Of course, I did a first rendition of it that I recorded on Tuesday night in anticipation for the Wednesday night broadcast. And, well, wouldn't you know it, my dumbass accidentally deleted it somehow. I don't know. I'm only tech savvy just enough. I'm not trying. I've got so many things that I delve into, as you can always tell, jumping from one place to another. But I wanted to dive into a really cool concept for a little bit right now. Something that has to do with dimensions. Now, from what I know, there's always been this talk of, and I just recently saw a post on the interweb about how the brain itself, this is according to quantum physicists, that the brain contains, as far as we know, 11 dimensions. This is something that's been talked about. I mean, there might be more that we haven't yet been able to uncover, but this kind of makes me think about that bizarre spiritual concept of that, has been going around lately, where people talk about having this experience of, what would you call it? Well, imagine that through every moment, or every so many seconds, you could say. Some might say every minute and 7 seconds, or intervals of 17 seconds, or something to that effect. We are transitioning in and out of different types of realities. It might seem the same, on the surface. And I think that the irony of the internet is that it's bringing us closer together in a weird way, where we're able to kind of all become spiritual detectives, and we're able to talk to each other in different ways. You might not know someone, but they might share an experience they had. And what I find really cool is the way that it seems like we're kind of at this strange point in time as a species where our spirituality is getting restless. It's about to burst out of the seams, and we are ready to take on a new level. It seems like, anyways. What happens is, I feel that sometimes I look, certain things will catch my attention, and I'll be like, wait, I don't remember something being like that. And I don't remember things being like that, or I should say, I don't remember things happening like that as much catching my attention when I was younger. And as I get older, more involved in my spirituality in different types of ways, I started noticing it more and more. And now I notice it more than ever. The fact that there are these strange, almost spiritual coincidences that happen. So I just wanted to bring attention to the idea that, maybe we should get more involved intentionally in this possibility. I mean, the quantum physicists already said that those 11 dimensions inside of us already exist. So I think we should actively start participating in that experience. There's a lot of, videos. You can spend endless hours watching videos on spiritual concepts and practices. And I usually watch them, I'll put something on when I go take a shower, or when I'm just kind of like relaxing in a chill state. But, I don't want to, I'm kind of just in a absorbing mood, you could say. I find a lot of it is surface level stuff. A lot of stuff is just kind of the initiatory stage of things, where it's kind of like, is this really, like, is this all there is? There's got to be more. Because, so of course, over time I've done my own research into things, and that's why I made this channel to begin with, was simply to get involved with doing my part, at least. And I'm grateful for the slice of people that have come into this, into my and the channel's life. And it's really cool to be able to share these ideas. I think the hardest thing as a human is that we're so judgmental, so simply, it's kind of like, we can't really worry about the numbers because things just happen the way that they are, and you have to accept that. And that's a big thing I've been, it's easy to say something. I tell myself all the time, okay, I can accept this situation, but the hardest part is to realign myself, so I'm always working on that. And I've been trying to actively get involved with this multidimensional sense of self, because it seems like at times in life, I'll notice it seems like my, you might say, higher self or intuitive self is sending me more messages. And other times it's like, I wouldn't say it's a block, but I would just say that there's a suspension of that link, or it's connecting to different things. The intuition's still there. It's just being used differently. I don't think that we necessarily need to be decoding reality constantly, but I do feel like we could, on a mundane level, participate together, within ourselves and on the outer world. If it became more of a known thing, if everyone did it in their own way, imagine what would happen, I think that's really what people who want to hold power against us, that's what it's really all about, is they don't want us to utilize our true individual power. You know that. I mean, you're probably not. Yes, I know that, Matt. You're acting like those a-holes that talk about stuff and it's surface level. Duh. Okay, yes, but how do we go a little bit deeper below that surface? Some methods I would say are being conscious of when something catches your attention, to be more focused on realigning yourself with, I wouldn't just say positive, but I hate that whole positive negative thing, because it's more complex than that, it feels like. But it's just sort of like, something I recently heard was interesting, of realigning yourself with your desire. Instead of thinking about what's bothering you, just focus on what you want more. And for some reason, it's so easy to focus on what we don't want and manifest bullshit that, I've noticed throughout my own life that at times when I was hell-bent on something, I usually got it, even if it wasn't something I really shouldn't have gotten. And if things don't enter our lives, it's a good thing. Just as much as when something enters our life, it's a good thing as well. You have to look at it like that. We have to rewire ourselves. I think the problem is that when we think of these things, we're constantly thinking of it in a one-dimensional sense. This is me now, and this is me from the past, but I'm a little different, but there's things that are different. And it's like, oh, it's not like my body's aging. It's not like, this or that. But really, I mean, time is all happening simultaneously. And if that's the case, then there's, I mean, I think 11, there might be infinite possibilities. There might be realms of, like, within those 11 dimensions, there might be infinite possibilities in each of those dimensions, So, because every moment, sometimes I get too caught up in my own head about minute things, and so I try to let things go and, let it flow. And, sometimes you have to focus and be determined for things, but worrying if I didn't do this little thing then, and if you start thinking about it too much, it starts getting crazy, so it's why it's better to live than to think, in that sense. Think when it's necessary, when you have to solve something, but I would say, let it flow as much as you can. There are several different simple practices that we can do to engage in, maybe we need to find a way to communicate with our dimensional selves. Maybe like writing notes, write like a list of all 11 dimensions and try to figure out which one is which, who are you? And maybe it's like a thing that happens throughout the day, if we're able to break down. Because if you look at astrology and stuff, that must, in the other dimensional parts of ourselves, are the constellations different? Is it the same? What if it's like a different night sky in a different dimension, but it's still connected to this one somehow? Because sometimes I feel like, I'll dream and it'll be like weird unconscious, subconscious things that are kind of, I can tell when my brain is like doing a dump, brain shit, but get that, processing those parts of ourselves. But there's other times when it feels like it's a different type of lucidity, and I'm like, holy crap, there's something going on here, where something is, something is pushing me in a certain direction, or I'm being, something is being revealed in this visionary sense. It's less of a dream and more of a vision. Sometimes it's felt like I've had certain blips where it feels like I'm in, like an alternate type of place. I don't know if I'd call it a dimension or something, but I've always had the inkling since I was a kid that we kind of shift in and out of realities in our dreams, but it's only more recently that I've started thinking, well, who's to say that's not happening here? And what if there's like a certain event that has happened in one of the dimensions and it's starting to bring all of these dimensions into, what if there's another what if my seventh dimensional self is aware of this in a different aspect? And it's like, I was on this, I was in the 11th dimension, and I was, I'm so close to that spiritual wall, that last wall, the breakthrough to source or something. It makes you wonder. It makes me want to interact with those multiple parts of ourselves. I had a strange visionary dream once, back in early 2012, I think it was. A very pivotal time spiritually, I'd say, and for most people, and if you were awakened in any way, shape, or form. And I had this sort of, there was like it looked like me, but it wasn't me, but it was. Like, it looked like me, but it was just seemed like, I think it was a different dimensional version of myself. But I was so off-put by it that I was almost afraid. And then it kind of talked to me, and he was you don't have to be afraid. I get it, you're gonna be afraid because it's a weird thing. And I was in this place that reminded me of my, a home that I had, an apartment I lived in as a kid. And there was this TV and a couch, and that was it in this living room. It was really just like a living room and then like a kitchen thing, but it was just really, it didn't seem like there was much anything in the rooms, you know, it was very big. And the TV just had this endless cycle of just human things going on. Just different types of things, good, bad, scary, happy, lustful, like anything you can imagine. It just seemed kind of overwhelming. And I eventually kind of freaked out, and I was like, and he like shut the TV off like telepathically, you could say. I think it was just like the TV was being used, like it wasn't really there. It was more like it was there because it existed in my mind as, this is what you're familiar with, so let's use this to project that concept. And then he sat me down, kind of like the way I used to sit when I was doing meditation in martial arts. And he said, like, basically, some of what I'm going to tell you, you're going to remember, and some of what I tell you, you're not going to remember. And there's a reason for that, but you don't know that. You won't figure it out until probably after I pass, until I die, so to speak. And I was told by him that, I was told that those things that I was watching on the TV were all of my human attachments, and that I would basically meet back with him again when that was over. I guess basically when I died from this realm, whatever that might mean, wherever I go, I felt like I was going to meet back up with him again, which intersects a conversation I had with someone when I first published my book in 2015, Newstone. I had some people come out of nowhere. One was a lady that was a college professor. She was really intrigued by my book, and she wanted to talk to me. And she told me about an event, a dream, like a similar dream vision she had with her father after he passed away, after he passed on, or whatever you want to call it. And she kind of was able to ask him a question about the other side. And he said, it's beautiful, you meet your true twin. Like you meet like a part of you that feels missing, you feel complete. And stuff like that's always made me question love and romance, because if spiritually, if when we die, we meet another part of ourselves that completes us, is that possible that self is in another person in this realm? Or is that just a regular soulmate that's here to help us, that's part of the greater collective of the universe, but isn't actually part of us totally? Like the way she described it was that he was like, you literally meet the other half of yourself that's been missing, all the things that felt, and it's not, it's like, I loved your mother, but like this is like me, and this, the way that she expressed it just seemed very profound, similar to my dream. And also that intersected, what was so interesting about her is that it intersected my dream or vision that I've expressed on through these videos on my channel before with my grandfather, and the story of be like a hurricane, find your center. And so it's just very if you didn't hear that video, basically what I think it was in some of the unexplained short stories, and I think it will come back up in story form in another manner in The Damn Saint. But basically, long story short, I met up when I was 15. I met up with my grandfather who died when I was 10, and he basically said, you have like one chance to ask me anything you want about life or anything, like just anything. And I said, like, what is the ultimate thing that I can do to live the best life, or just to find that perfect path. Of course, when we think of these things, we think of what will lead me to perfect bliss all the time, but I believe that bliss comes after struggle. So I said at one point that I told my intuitive self to guide me through a certain amount of struggles to get me to that bliss. And it's been a wild ride, but I think that the way things are looking, according to my intuitive barometer, things are starting to make more sense. So all I'm saying is, I think it's a great idea to get more involved with your higher selves, your other dimensional selves, whatever you want to call it. Explore different ways of interacting with it. Try meditation, and if you don't already, but if you do meditation already, try thinking about. I mean, you might already be, have an idea of this. I don't know, but it's just something that I find very fascinating and provocative spiritually. It's really cool to think of the idea that we could communicate to that there are. I mean, it almost just makes sense that there are different dimensional parts of us. They're all happening simultaneously. I think that I don't know, maybe we're not at as low of a level that we think we are. That'd be kind of crazy if we feel like, because Earth is just like really difficult. Is this the base of, is this one, or are there, more below us? Maybe that would be consciousness in the form of like a mineral or a vegetable or an animal or something. But I think animals are a little more divine than we give them credit for. So, something to keep in mind. The damn saint will return soon. Thank you for tuning in to Matthew Myth. It's me, Matt Myth, signing off.